Welcome back to another Outdoor Philosophy. And I had a great video series request from somebody, and so I thought it was an excellent one, and we just finished a series, so we're going to jump on into this one. We're going to be talking about the philosophies and the tips and the tricks of living a debt-free life. And this is something we should all be striving for, is to live a debt-free life. And it's not always that easy, and in some instances, it's not always possible, which is a very, very sad thing in our current culture. You know, richest country in the world, and nearly all of us have a lot of debt. And I'm not completely out of debt myself, but I am doing a whole lot better than the average American, that's for sure. And all the debt that I have is kind of related to buying a house in a town because I had to move in that town, and I probably should have rented at the time, but you know, the job prospects, everything looked good. I ended up being there for a couple years before that big economic crash happened. So not only was I one of the ones losing my job along with everybody else, but our property values also went in half. So my house went from $180,000 valuation down to $90,000 valuation in a town where every job dried up. I mean, we're talking crazy. And that's why I started the web design company when I did, is I had enough resources to float myself for a while. And I actually was able to hold on to the house long enough to get the price up, valuation up high enough to short sell it. So all of the debt that I have is related to the fact that when you short sell a house, they basically write you a 1099 and you got to pay taxes and all that. So I'm going like $10,000, $15,000, something in debt to the IRS. And then, so when you're in debt to the IRS, you do everything, like loan sharks are better than being in debt to the IRS. So I took out a credit card to pay off the IRS debt, and that's what I'm still whittling down with right now. And so I don't have a lot of debt on that. I have that one credit card that barely ever gets used. I did attach it to some of the business assets for the writing stuff so I can, you know, bounce things off of that. Although anytime I make a purchase on it, I pay back twice as much as what the purchase was. So the debt never goes higher, it just goes lower. But that's the thing, is once you get into this, because interest rates are so high right now on nearly everything for nearly everybody, once you get into it, you're never getting out. And so this becomes one of these fundamental problems. John MacArthur did a book a long time back called Whose Money Is It Anyway? And of course that was back in the 80s, and according to those numbers at that time, man, if you were like $800 in credit card debt, you were never going to get out of that in your life. Now, of course, your average person walks around carrying about, I think it's like $35,000 or $45,000 is the average credit card debt in America. Cars, I don't know what the average debt carried on a car is, but I know that the average American car payment is over $500 a month. And then the biggest problem that we have right now is the student loan crisis. And I'm advocating right now that unless you absolutely know for a fact that what you're doing requires a college degree, I'm advising people don't go to college. You know, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a school teacher, those are all great goals to have, and you're going to need to go to college for that. And then what your task is to figure out how to get college as cheap as you can. You want to figure out community colleges. You want to figure out the way to get your costs down as low as you possibly can, do cash, and have no life. All right? Now, I was even in the generation that even we were kind of foisted upon debt in our life as we lived. And I remember that was the biggest fight with my mother I ever really had. She's like, you know, the way a mother can force their child to get a student loan debt. And, you know, so there was no gun to my head involved or anything. But nevertheless, it was this big fight. She's like, you have to sign these papers. You have to sign. And I was pissed and I was mad. And I signed the stupid papers and I left. And I didn't come back for a long time because I was just pissed. I was mad. But I was a pretty smart guy, and I kept on getting those emails that would go to me instead of family or anything, like, oh, you got to come down to the financial aid office and fill out your FOSTA form to get your loans. I decided by the third semester I wasn't doing that anymore. And so I didn't do that anymore, and I was like, no, if I'm going to college, we're paying for it. And so I worked 60-hour weeks during the semesters, I worked about 30 or 40. Off semester, I worked about 60 to 80 hours a week. I did multiple jobs. I remember I opened one restaurant. I slept in my car in the parking lot of one restaurant, woke up in the morning when someone knocked on my window, got up, got in there, opened the restaurant, took an hour break, to eat. I went over to another restaurant, and then I closed that, and I drove to the parking lot of the first one, and I slept in the parking lot again. And that's what my life looked like for a long time. I didn't spend a lot of time watching movies. I didn't spend time playing video games. I didn't watch videos. My life was how to get through college without debt. And it succeeded. I paid off, I went through school and I graduated college with a positive net worth. Now, I made a stupid decision. I graduated college in 2001, August of 2001, and I had $7,000 in mutual funds and I had $4,000 in student loan debt. That's what I had. And so I talked to the guy that was holding the student loans as a stupid, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, I think just out of college. Now, I was going off to grad school. And I said to the guy, hey, I've got $7,000 in mutual funds and I got $4,000 in student loans. I think I should take out $4,000 of the mutual funds, drop that down, pay off the student loans, whatever else. He's like, oh, no, you don't want to do that. The interest rate on these is growing faster than the interest rate there. And what wasn't factored in is the thing called risk. Because what happened in September of 2001? Anybody remember? I do, because some terrorists crashed some planes into the trade center, and the entire market tanked, and my mutual funds went from $7,000 to $2,000, and my student loans stayed at $4,000. See, there's this little thing called risk. If you have student loan debt and you have a mutual fund, close out the mutual fund and pay off your student loans. Period. All right? Now, fast forwarding, I finished my grad school, and there were some other issues back and forth in there, and we're not going to get into all of that, but I finished grad school, and within 3 years, I had paid off everything, and I was completely debt-free, and then this house situation happened. And so, I got to say, when you are living your life completely debt-free, it is a fabulous, fabulous life, and that's what this series is talking about. So, I'm pretty close. I wiped out, my savings was wiped out, my retirement was wiped out, everything I worked for up to this point in time was wiped out, but still I only have a few $1,000s in debt, and that's really what I'm trying to do on these channels, grow these enough up so that I can pay off the rest of that debt and get on with things again. And so the reality is, when you are living with a plan, when you are living on a budget, when you are living intelligently with your life, life becomes so much more free. When you don't have a student loan payment coming in, a credit card payment coming in, a car payment coming in, and this coming in and that coming in, your life is a lot better. And so it kind of starts with grasping the budget, grasping an understanding of what's coming when, and planning for it. And that's what this series is going to be about, is the various steps that it takes. We're kind of go through like a mini FPU type course. And if you haven't checked out Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University course, definitely go check that out. It is well worth the taking wherever you're at. I don't agree with 100% of everything in there, of course, but that is a fabulous, fabulous place to go. And so that's what this Outdoor Philosophy series is going to be about. I think I have six video topics right now, and I'm sure I'll come up with more by the time the series is over. We'll try and get it up to like 10 or so. So keep watching back and get financially free, wipe out them credit cards, pay off those debts, and sacrifice. That's the thing, sacrifice to get out of debt, because if you don't have any debt going out, you don't have interest going out, it becomes an amazing thing when all the income comes in and then you just distribute it out, and then you have like money left over at the end of the month, and it's weird. You're like, what do I do with this money at the end of the month? And go back and start investing in things. But keep along for the series, subscribe to the channel, and Sundays is when the playlist is going to be updated, so keep on coming down to this channel, and let me know any other topics you want covered in this particular session in the comments down below. Thanks for coming along, and I hope that you enjoy your daily walk in our Lord.